Welcome, students, and today I'm very pleased to introduce my guests who are on Skype interview from Italy and have taken time out, their busy lives, to do this on a Friday evening, which thank them for very much. And so we have Dr. Luciana Bassani, who was here at Rutgers as a guest lecturer, and that's how I came to know her, and her husband, Filippo Cianti, who is also a physician. Both of them have worked in Uganda and directly on AIDS. So I want to begin by thanking you and recalling that it was so kind of you to come and give a lecture at Rutgers. And then to begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves and your experience and what got you to be in Uganda instead of in Italy practicing medicine?
So we went to Uganda in 80. We were very young doctors, just qualified as doctors. And the first 10 years we spent in the north of Uganda, and we work in a district hospital where we face a lot of diseases, acute infectious diseases, and malaria and many other kind of sicknesses. When around 85, 86, we were still in the north, it happened to notice people coming, especially from the south of Uganda, from Kampala or Jinja, people who have been coming up very, very slim, very skinny, with devastating gastroenteritis, with devastating skin rashes. And we tried our best with the little we had at that time to help and try to treat, but truly these people and were young people who are dying very, very fast, very, very fast. And at that time we had the opportunity to send to our country, our university, some specimens from people of North Uganda, and after some years, those very blood samples have been tested, and they found that those people were affected by AIDS. But at that time, not yet well known in Uganda. In fact, we were calling this kind of disease the slim disease, because people were getting wasted in a very rapid way, and no way of supporting and sustaining them, and they were dying very, very, very rapidly.
Federal health officials consider it an epidemic, yet you rarely hear a thing about it. At first, it seemed to strike only one segment of the population. Now, Barry Peterson tells us this is no longer the case.
It was devastating, you know. At that time I was 29 years old. To be told that I had cancer was it turned me around.
Bobby Campbell is fighting for his life, one of a rapidly growing group whose battle has fascinated and frightened modern medicine. He has Kaposi sarcoma, a deadly skin cancer that first appeared on the bottom of his feet as spots the size of a quarter. There is a 1 in 5 chance a victim will die within the first year of the illness. It's a disease first detected in the gay community that has now spread beyond that, a disease experts are now calling a national epidemic.
There are more lives claimed, victims claimed, than toxic shock and Legionnaire's disease combined, and yet most of the country doesn't know about this cancer.
Why?
Well, I think it's because it's a gay cancer.
It appeared a year ago in New York's gay community, then in the gay communities in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Now it's been detected in Haitian refugees. No one knows why. And in heavy drug users, especially in New York City. No one knows why. And in some people with hemophilia, a disease that prevents blood clotting so the patient needs frequent blood transfusions. Why? At the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, where 400 cases have been reported, a special task force has now been set up. One possibility, a rare herpes virus may attack the body's immune system, bringing with it the cancer or a lethal form of pneumonia.
By finding the cause of this, we may be able to dissect out that part of the immune system that prevents cancer in general.
And there are more whys. Why just certain geographic areas? Why just certain groups? And most frightening, the possibility that the virus can be transmitted from person to person, virtually a contagious form of cancer. Specialists argue that millions of dollars should be spent for research now.
What we can learn from this group of individuals about cancer in general, how it's transmitted, what causes it, and hopefully how to stop it, is absolutely unbelievable.
But there is almost no money being spent so far. One New York group is raising a few $1,000s for research by selling T-shirts.
What did the spots look like?
In San Francisco, a Kaposi sarcoma hotline opens, supported by private donations. Bobby Campbell spends one morning a week at the hospital for chemotherapy for a disease that at the moment has not spread.
When I came down with this disease, I found this button and it absolutely reflected my position. You know, I may be down, but I'm not out.
For Bobby Campbell, it is a race against time. How long before he and others who have this disease finally have answers, finally have the hope of a cure? Barry Peterson, CBS News, San Francisco.
And really you had no effective treatment other than palliative.
Yeah, and supportive treatment, that is rehydration in case of bad gastroenteritis, and try to overcome infectious diseases. You know, AIDS is a disease that affects your immune system, so you have no weapons to overcome diseases that affect you. So we could just try to cure tuberculosis or very strong malaria or gastroenteritis, this kind of diseases. But despite our effort, the life of these people were very, very, very short. And
when have you most recently been working in Uganda? Either of you?
Please, why? Why we went? We had some friends a bit older than we, and who are living and working in Uganda, and we having this friendship with them, we found that their life in Uganda, working in Uganda, was beautiful, was very interesting, and we have been moved by that interest of getting a life full of happiness. So we decided to live, because we saw the experience of these people was truly satisfying them, and we wanted to.
So you stayed for many years? When were you there last?
We have been from 1980 till 2009, so 29 years.
So during that time, people came to know more about the disease. Did you, were you active in the field with the use of pharmaceuticals? Are they available? Are medicines available? Here in the United States, we say now AIDS, HIV/AIDS is a disease you don't die from, you live with if you have enough, frankly, expensive medicine.
Yeah. Let's say in 1999, 2000, we could start having drugs, antiviral drugs, and we could see people starting getting this kind of drugs, recovering and truly changing life completely. We had personally some friends with whom we have been. We started treatment in 1997, and till now they are good. They are still living and they are healthy. Now, you know, in Uganda, as in many African countries, the transmission is through heterosexual relationship. So, truly, even in a couple, if one of the two is not faithful to the other or has many partners, this is the way to contaminate and to transmit this disease. So the main transmission way is the heterosexual intercourses. Then personally, I worked many years in some studies that have been even quite successful in Uganda and for the developing country to reduce the transmission mother-to-child transmission. There is this vertical possibility of transmission the disease, especially at the moment of the labor, where the child can be contaminated by the blood of the mother or by the liquid of the mother. So we started in Uganda plus other countries in Africa made some studies very, very important because we could find that just giving a single dose of nevirapine to the mother at the moment of labor, we could reduce the risk of transmission to the baby. And that was the first and the most important test, trial done.
Do the patients feel as if they are shunned and discriminated against? I'm thinking of the United States, the situation where many times children who are diagnosed with HIV/AIDS infected from the mother are ostracized at school. They are nobody wants them in the classroom. Is this a problem in Uganda?
Let's say in the beginning, there was a big stigma. People who were found being sick were just rejected, abandoned by their relatives and left alone. But there was a big concern, first of all, by the President Museveni and then by many people instead to welcome and find solution and accept and then find help and solution for these people. So nowadays, it's not the stigma somehow can be for some people, but it is no more strong as it was 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
And is there a prejudice against the adults, either for being promiscuous in a heterosexual relationship, or if there are cases of homosexuality? I will be showing the students the Pat Robertson brief video clip, which blames this is somehow God's punishment. Do people you have to treat, do they see this as somehow God punishing people or some form of evil, or does that really not enter into it so much?
I think we need to remember the term sodomy came from a town that was known as Sodom, and Sodom was destroyed by God Almighty, and the thing that they practiced was homosexual activity, and even they tried to rape angels who came down there. So that's the kind of people they were. But beyond that, Jesus didn't, when he spoke of Sodom, he didn't say anything about the homosexuality. He talked about just the fact that business was as usual until God decided to destroy it. And he sent an angel down there, and he said to Lot and his family, get out now, because I'm going to destroy this whole area. So that's where sodomy came from. We use the term sodomy, and it means Sodom. And what's it like? Well, we're heading that way as a nation. And in history, there's never been a civilization ever in history that has embraced homosexuality and turned away from traditional fidelity, traditional marriage, traditional child rearing, and has survived. There isn't one single civilization that has survived that openly embraced homosexuality. So you say, what's going to happen to America? Well, if history is any guide, the same thing's going to happen to us. It's not a pretty world we live in right now, and we need all of God's help we can get. And I don't think we're exactly setting ourselves up for his favor.
Actually, the African conception of disease, everything negative happens to a person or in a community is related to act against the common good or against the moral. So generally speaking, when there is a disease, there is a custom to try to identify what wrong has gone in the community with the person. So generally there is already this mentality considering the disease, the effect of evil acts.
Well, I think that's very important, and I'd like you to tell me, Dr. Cianti, because the students are going to read your article on early Christian responses to epidemics, and they're also going to read Boccaccio, which I suppose every Italian read in high school or something. So you know very well this notion that it was the sins of the city of Florence that brought the Black Death to Florence. And now you're telling me something very similar that you find in Uganda, which I am fascinated about, and I would like to hear more from you about this notion of communal responsibility for disease.
Yeah, first of all, there is this conception, and then when AIDS came, it was so devastating and so widespread that really at the beginning there was a situation of fear, denial, and stigma. However, what has been noteworthy in Uganda is that there's been a kind of movement in the communities to take care of the sick, and then this has been a real widespread response. So many communities, so many families and communities started to take care of the sick. Some have been exemplary, and I think that it is very famous, the Camoja community, Christian community. Maybe I will send you something later, written, but there have been some initiatives very, very, very new for the context. And therefore, for instance, Sister Miriam Dagan in the 80s was the medical superintendent of Cianti Hospital, one of the largest Catholic hospitals in Kampala, and she was taking care of the sick. Actually, was one of the major centers together with Makerere Mulago Hospital in Kampala. But she perceived that the challenge was not in the hospital, but was in the community. So she moved herself, she left the hospital actually. She left the direction of the hospital to go into the community and to begin a movement in the community of people taking care of the sick in the families and working mainly with the youth, and then started the Youth Alive movement, working mainly with the youth to prevent the disease and as well to take care of the sick. So this has been a real phenomenon that happened in Uganda and also in other countries. We have also examples of this way of responding in Zambia and other places. And I think this is very much related to the fact that there are strong community bondages and links. So the concept of the extended family on one side was put under stress by the disease. On the other hand, it was their possibility to provide a kind of security web for the people. And therefore, initially, there was a real response from the community. And I think what has been also important is that the political leaders understood well the danger that the disease was for the entire nation. Actually, Museveni always was telling the story that Museveni was educated and brought up and then he grew up politically in Mozambique with Dos Santos and the movement with Nyerere. He was in contact with Nyerere, and then he studied in Sweden. He actually was a neo-Marxist. And when he took power, sent his best soldiers to Cuba. After a few months, he received a telephone call from Fidel Castro, who told him, "My friend, you have a real problem because all your soldiers are infected by HIV." And that was a big shock for him. He realized that HIV was a danger for the whole nation. Actually, he had some relatives sick and some close friends sick. And so, as it happened in the communities, it happened also at the political level. And this has been the strong and important characteristic to understand how HIV/AIDS was a danger for the community, was a danger for the nation. So there was this reaction, and that's what you know, and then was well known as the success story of Uganda, reducing from 20% to 5–6% the prevalence in a few years, and this event was well studied. And therefore, Uganda became a kind of large laboratory, one on scientific level, because so many American universities came to Uganda to study, because there were so many patients, so much to study, so many universities came, Case Western University, Columbia University, Johns Hopkins. They opened a lot of research centers of excellence in Kampala, and they did a lot of studies. Some studies are still going on, also on vaccines. And so there was a very important laboratory of study, well done, well followed, and like the Petra study that Luciana was mentioning, that was a study that was even interrupted before completion because the results were so positive that there was a decision, the ethical committee decided to stop the study and immediately started the implementation phase. And on the other hand, there's been this widespread involvement of people. And people were really committed, and then so many community-based organizations grew up everywhere in the country. And what has been surprising in my experience, because those years we were in northern Uganda, that we noticed that even in war-affected area, very with resource-limited settings, with very limited resources, even in northern Uganda, though prevalence is higher than in the south, than in certain areas of the south, there was the similar reduction of prevalence. So it meant that the community message, the kind of reaction, was effective as well in areas disturbed by war. So this is an interesting phenomenon that has been widely studied and well documented, that we could actually we spend our life in Uganda since the beginning of the epidemic, because we worked for 4 or 5 years without knowing the disease. And that was the other aspect. Nobody knew the disease. It was something unknown, something that nobody could understand. And we were, at the beginning, we were without any possibility. And then later, even when there were some very good studies from southern Uganda, particularly in Rakai district, there is a study that started then and is still going on. There is one of the most important longitudinal studies still going on now, where they are still following the communities and all the changes that took place demographically, immunologically, behaviorally, and so forth. So this has been more or less what I could say. And then what I wanted to stress in my paper about care and hope is that viral diseases have no treatment, because even if they have no cure, you can have treatment, but it's a palliative treatment, because even antiretroviral are not solving the problem, are just stopping it. But if you stop the drugs, or if there are resistances, the disease come back. But it is well known in medicine that viral diseases are fought mainly, but generally in medicine is always like that. Diseases are fought with very simple actions, like giving water, so the basic needs, giving water, giving shelter, giving protection, giving food. These simple things make really the difference. For instance, if you take antiretroviral drugs and you don't eat properly, you can have a lot of benefits. And so the parallel with the Black Death in the medieval ages is really in Florence is really a very good comparison, because it's so common with the epidemics that I was I mentioned in my paper. Mm-hmm. Because it was the same. The big epidemics in the first centuries after Christ were most likely were measles epidemics, or were black death, or epidemics, or
some form of plague.
And really, the care for the patient was, as it was in Uganda, it is always an extraordinary response to the disease. And in this sense, everybody can do a lot, because patients could be cared even if there was no treatment. And then this kind of care continues, because there are so many community-based organizations now in Uganda. I mentioned Meeting Point or Kamoja Christian Reach Out in Buia. There are so many community-based organizations taking care of thousands of persons affected and infected by HIV/AIDS. And even hospitals now, they are working with these community-based organizations in order to reach the patients in their homes, because the numbers are so high. Only in Uganda there are 0.8 million, 800,000 people infected at least, and 400,000 are getting treatment. So it would be impossible for the health system to reach all. So they are using community-based organizations to make the response. So indeed, the community response coupled with the political response, together with the robust research, made the difference.
Okay, I think that is a wonderful note on which we shall turn this over to our students for further discussion as they read over these materials. And I just want to thank both of you so very, very much for participating in this interview on behalf of my students. So I do appreciate this very much. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.